Good evening. It is I, Ronkar. It is my pleasure to be with you in this evening. We asked you in your meditation to come with us on a journey, on a walk, so to speak, in which you could meet a friend, a loved one who is also in spirit, who would simply accompany you on this walk as a companion. And you come to a church and you go into the church and you move into the light of God and experience God's love. We ask you to feel this, to imagine it, but I wish you to know it is true. Although God is not in a church, for God is everywhere, it is useful sometimes to use that idiom, so to speak, that analogy, that you enter into a special place to feel the love of God. But God is everywhere. And He is present within you. He is present within me. For He is part of us all. Well, let us put that more correctly. We are all part of God. For everything in this creation has been brought forth by God from the substance of His own being. And so all of us, all of you, are one with God in this way. You are made up of the substance of God's being. And your mind is part of God's mind. You are connected to God in this way. And your consciousness is also part of God's consciousness, or God is part of your consciousness, whichever way you would like to look at it. It is because you have been made of the substance of God's being. And when you acknowledge that oneness of your being with God, why, of course, your mind must be part of God's mind. And your consciousness must be part of God's consciousness. And if you decide to attune yourself and become one with God, you will find yourself with all the guidance and inspiration and help that you need in your life. Because as you are part of God and God is part of you, you have access to all the knowledge, the wisdom of God. And in many ways, you are God, for you are a creator in your own life. You create the world in which you live. You create this world through your decisions, through your actions, and your perceptions. And what do we mean by your perceptions? It's what you notice in the world and what you want to be in the world. And whether you choose to notice love that surrounds you from perhaps family members or friends, that love that comes to you elsewhere, from elsewhere, outside of yourself, and the love that you give to others. This is you being the love of God in manifestation. And when you need knowledge and wisdom and understanding, it is only up to you to ask, to reach out with your mind and to ask for what it is that you need to ask. In this evening, I, of course, will attempt to answer your questions. But when I am not present, you can ask these things of yourself, and the answers will come to you. Maybe not while you are asking them. Maybe not while you are sitting there in contemplation, trying to find the answer that you need. But it will come. It will come to you in unexpected ways. It will come to you out of the mouths of strangers or out of the mouths of friends. It will suddenly come to you in something that you happen to read. For the answers are always there for you, and God sends them to you. This whole universe works, this world works on your intellect, your intelligence, you're being one with God. And when you wish to manifest something in your life, and you contact that God part of yourself, and you desire to manifest it, and you know that you can do this, it happens. It is your faith and your belief. It is your belief that manifests the world in which you live. And so if you believe your friends are kind and helpful, so you will have kind and helpful friends. As you are kind and helpful to others, you will draw and attract to yourself others who are kind and helpful. As you are loving and giving to others, other people who desire love and desire to be given to will be attracted to you, and they will love you for all that you do for them. And they will give love to you so that you will be fully loved in every way. Remember, whatever it is that you put forth into this world, it always comes back to you. It is what you manufacture, what you contribute, that is what you get back within the world. It is returned to you as God has spoken, as the brother Jesus has spoken. It is returned to you, much improved, much larger, so that you have a life that is filled with everything that you give away. Everything you give away returns to you many times over. And so give into the world. Give your love, give your kindness, give your help. Send it forth, knowing that it will be returned to you, but sending forth because you only wish to help and serve others within this creation. And so it is that you will find happiness in your life, happiness and fulfillment in your life. Now, are there any questions on what I've spoken, or do you have any other questions you would like to ask? If no one speaks up, it will be a very short evening, and I will say good night. So please, someone come through with a question.
Hello, this isn't exactly what you were talking about, but I was just wondering, as in the position that you're in, working through the medium, is it possible for you to send her healing energy while you're there and to ask her guides or angels or whoever may be around her to give her some healing?
Oh, yes. Every time she channels and allows me in, I cannot avoid healing her.
Awesome.
For the healing, as she is influenced by my energy and vibration, that includes all parts of herself. And so she is healed. And of course, there are many others who wish her healing. And so she is constantly being bombarded by those good wishes for healing. But thank you for
great.
asking.
Wonderful.
Yes. Are there other questions?
Yes, hi. I wanted to ask you, my son Daniel is on his way right now. He's on a plane from Dallas, Texas to return to New Jersey, and he's going to be staying with me. And I'm somewhat concerned about a few things, and should I just think positive? First of all, addressing COVID. He has not been vaccinated, and he's just against vaccinations. There's no talking to him or convincing him otherwise. And I have been vaccinated, and I don't want to be concerned about him flying, and I'm more concerned about his well-being, really, because of the fact that he has not been vaccinated. He's on a plane with all these people and airports and stuff, and then coming into my home and staying with me for a while, because he has to address this problem he has, which I believe you know about, that the homeowners had canceled his policy and his house is in disarray. The water pipes broke and there's a lot of damage. And the insurance company will not pay to fix it because he wasn't there at the time it happened. And so he can't live in the house because there's no power or water or anything. So he has to stay with me. And he may not go to court until next month. You know, I don't know when they plan to address this. So I'm just putting this out for you to kind of make me understand and put me a little more at ease, perhaps, about the situation.
Yes, you wish to be reassured that everything will be well with him as far as the COVID is concerned.
Yes.
And I do not know that for sure, but at least you can be reassured that you yourself have already developed some immunity to the COVID, and it is probable that you will not become infected. However, if you do, you have already some resilience and antibodies within your system, which will help you to fight the disease. And so you will probably be, while you could possibly become ill, you will probably be just fine. And not to worry about that, to know that with confidence. Because as I have mentioned in my address, this world in which you live is largely governed from a mental point of view. What you think about and what you want to have happen and what you believe will happen, these beliefs strongly affect the world in which you live and the atmosphere in which you live. So know yourself to be safe. Also, know your son to be safe. That even though he hasn't been vaccinated, affirm the fact that he has a very good immune system and that he will be able to fight the disease should he become infected. Do you understand?
Yes, yes.
Yes, so that is the positive attitude that you must have. As far as his home is concerned, I just have a single suggestion other than all the actions he has taken. If he is not notified the state board of insurance or some arm of the state which governs and governs insurance carriers, and he can contact them to make a complaint, and perhaps that will be far more important than and far more quickly than taking other legal actions, because he was insured, and one of the reasons you insure things is because if you are not home and something breaks, it is to be insured.
Yes.
And it is perhaps that the insurance commission would find or would litigate, not litigate, that is the wrong word, perhaps negotiate in his behalf to come to some sort of a settlement in which he would be at least partially reimbursed for the difficulties, yes, for the breakage of things in his home and the destruction of his home.
Could you
Probably
mention that
not.
again? Yeah. Could you mention that again, what you said, the insurance what? It's an insurance?
You would be the State Insurance Commission. I do not know its correct term or name.
State Insurance
But
Commission?
each of the states has a committee, a governing body, which is supposed to take care of insurance companies receive complaints about malpractice of insurance companies, that sort of thing. So it's something governed by the state, and it is an insurance committee of some sort.
Governed by the state. Okay. That's
So that might be of help to him if he has
Yeah.
not thought to call to speak to them, to see if he can get an intercession of someone in authority to intercede with his insurance company and to reconsider.
Right.
Since
Okay.
the state must license insurance companies, that much I know.
Mhm.
And so have the mental attitudes in your house
I
for your
usually-
own well-being and his well-being.
Right. I usually do have a positive attitude about things. And it's just that it seems like it's been so long already. This happened in February, and now it's almost October, and there hasn't been any resolution. And so I, kind of.
Yes, I understand the difficulty. And
But I'll be positive, and I will, and I have prayed a lot about things, and about
no,
money.
yes, hold the thought in your mind that you know everything will work out for the best, whatever that may be. Do not think what you have in mind is for the best, but whatever is best will work out.
Manifest. Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks.
You're welcome. Are there other questions?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
I'm open to asking anything about, it could be relationships, family, open to discuss.
Some of your words were obscured. I did not get sometimes complete words. Would you ask your question again?
Okay, so I have a question about a relationship. Is that okay to ask?
Yes, you may. I may not. Yes, ask me the question.
Okay, so I have been in a relationship for 4 years now with a gentleman who I care very deeply about. And when we initially met, we had very common goals and ideas of how we'd like the relationship to look and work out. And he's, over the years, it's been very difficult with COVID and just other personal things. And there's been a lot of hurt and pain that I've endured. And instead of being loving towards one another and working through them in a loving way, it's been kind of hurtful. The words, the exchange of words have been hurtful, and I feel like misleading in some ways. And I'm just not really sure. I feel like I'm losing trust, and that's kind of scary for me. So I'm really trying to organize, what stuff I'm responsible for in the relationship and what stuff I should really be paying attention to, because I feel a little confused.
Yes, I do understand your question, even though it was difficult for you to ask it, because there are very many emotional things involved in your question. You entered into a relationship with someone and you seem to have mutual goals and a mutual visualization of how that relationship should be. Is that what I understand to be true for you? You may leave yourself unmuted while I am speaking to you, please.
I'm unmuted.
Okay, so that it was true that you had a meeting of the minds about what type of relationship you both expected. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And over the years, with the stresses of relationships, you found in yourself, you mentioned that you were hurt and upset at certain times because of his behaviors. And now you are confused as to whether this relationship will be a good relationship and you should work at making it continue. Is that your concern?
Yes.
Yes. All right, let us talk about that. So part of the reason people experience hurt and confusion is because they had an expectation that someone would behave differently than they are now behaving, or it was in the past. So in each situation, you thought that he would behave in a certain way. And perhaps this would be more supportive of you or more tolerant of you. Or perhaps he was just angry and said things that were hurtful. It does not matter what it was, but it was your expectation that he should behave in a different way because you were in a relationship, and one in which you had intended or you thought would be supportive of each of you.
Mhm.
And so when this expectation is not fulfilled, one becomes very unhappy by from their own expectations. My expectation is that you would be loving, or you would be tolerant, or that you would be patient um, in this, whatever it was. And this man or this partner um, failed you in that relationship and in that way. So you became hurt. So where do you go from here? Well, it's either to understand that although you had a vision that the two of you seemed to embrace, perhaps he was not the person that you thought he was. Perhaps you thought he was more in control of his emotions and he would not lose his temper, that he would have patience with you, that he would be loving in a difficult situation, understand your concerns, but he was failing you in these ways. And this just may not be part of the person that he is. He may not have the ability to have the empathy to give you what you need. And so your choice in this relationship is to accept the man that he is, with his perhaps lack of empathy, his lack of concern, a short temper, whatever his faults may be, according to you, and to just accept him as he is and know that this is how he behaves. If you care for him and you wish to continue to be with him, then you will continue to send him love and hope that everything goes well for him. But if it's not, if he does not bring out the best in you, in other words, he makes you unhappy. And I'm sure when you are unhappy, you are not always the kindest person or the most perfect person in the world either. Perhaps you have had arguments because and with raised voices, and this was not bringing out the best in either of you. Both of you were being less loving than you could have been, each one demanding his own viewpoint and refusing to see the other person's viewpoint and to compromise, each one having that difficulty. So in most relationships, if this relationship does not bring out the best in yourself and even may tend to cause you to be less than you want to be as a person, it's time to leave the relationship because it is not serving you well. It's not making you happy. It's not bringing out the best of you. And the person, while you may feel affection for this person, your relationship and your affection is being destroyed because of his attitudes and the way that he is, and your inability to accept him as he is. You see, love involves accepting people as they are, even when they are not perfect, even when they are wrong, even when you don't like what they do. You have to accept that from someone you love, or you have to recognize that there are too many things for me to continue to love this person the way that I want to love someone, the way I want to have my life. And so therefore, it is better that we part. And that is the hard reality of your situation, to make that decision of what is best for yourself. If he brings out the best in you, makes you happy, then it is a relationship worth preserving. You did not mention that you were married. It is just that you lived together and you were in a relationship. But this relationship has not progressed the way that you wanted it to progress. And you only thought that he was in agreement with you, whereas he may have had a different vision that was not truly expressed and understood by you. And not to say that you have done anything wrong in this relationship. It is merely how relationship works and how love works. And so I don't know if I've answered your question adequately to help you in this situation. Do you wish to ask another question?
No, I think you hit a lot of the points I needed to hear and understand. Thank you.
That is good. I am glad to have been of service and some help in giving you a clarity of vision. And now you just have to continue to examine things and then make your decision as what is the best for yourself and the ways in which you will ultimately be the most happy. For that is truly your guide in life. If you are happy in something, it is good. If you are unhappy in something, either you need to change your thoughts and your perceptions, or you need to change that thing for yourself so that it is no longer a part of your life.
Thank you.
You are most welcome. Are there any other questions?
Hello.
Yes?
Hi. I wanted to ask about my daughter. We've been disconnected for almost 2 years now because of her husband. He's very controlling. I tried to say something to her and she got upset with me about calling him out on his behavior. We walked on eggshells for several years, knowing we couldn't say anything. And then I finally did because I thought she was in a place that she could hear it. But I haven't heard from her for almost 2 years. So I guess my question is, will I ever hear from her again?
It is a hard answer. Yes, you will hear from her again. And you can also make communication for her. But you must realize that because her husband is controlling, it is not within your right to speak to her, as you put it, when you thought she was in a place to understand this. In other words, you found a time period where she was unhappy with him or she was unhappy with the relationship, and you chose to bring this up. And she got mad at you for bringing it up because you only caused her to feel worse at that moment in time. And if you wish to have a good relationship with your daughter in the future, it is more helpful if you would, in a similar situation, merely express your sympathy for the predicament or what is going on in her life, and that you love her and you just want her to be happy in whatever goes on, and you hope that everything is good for her, and not be critical of her husband or herself or anything like that. You need to just express love. Now, there are opportunities to bring about communication. It's traditional to send a birthday card or some remembrance of the birth of your child. Also, if you celebrate Christmas or other religious holidays, sometimes exchanges can be made. And it would probably probably be to your advantage to take those opportunities to simply either send her a gift or not a gift. It does not matter what it is if you do not choose, but send her wishes for the season, and that you wish her to be well and happy, and that you love her. And
Yeah, we've done all of that. We've sent several gifts to her, also her husband, and for her two children. We've gotten therapists involved. We've tried everything. We even tried to get a mediator involved, and there's just no response at all, which goes back to the controlling.
Well, that is your viewpoint. Excuse me for interrupting you, but that is your viewpoint.
No,
And-
it's not just my viewpoint. It's several people who noticed it, and it got to a point of being abusive. So
This,
it's hard when it's your child to.
yes, but this is your daughter's problem, and you cannot solve your daughter's problem. All you can do is stand by her to give her the strength to deal with the problem in whatever way she finds most comfortable
Right.
for herself. And you
Yeah,
have
no, well,
already,
we did that. We did that
no,
several times.
excuse
Yeah.
me, let me finish. You did not, you may have done that, but you did not do that because you continue to interfere. You continue to try to get a therapist. You tried to get a negotiator. You tried many different ways to have her listen to your point of view. And this was just you interfering in her life, not allowing her to deal with her own problems, and also trying to control her yourself. And so you may have brought her up to be, if you have been a controlling parent, it is perhaps the way that she has learned to be submissive and controlled by someone else. And you do not approve of the someone else who is busy controlling her right now. And I understand your dismay over the circumstances. But if you want to have a relationship for her, you must accept that that relationship will contain her husband. And if it is possible over time that she will make her own decisions and take actions and come to you, if she knows that you are available to her as just a loving person who will accept her as she is and to allow her to feel safe. Otherwise, she will find some help somewhere else. But you want her ultimately to return to the bosom of your family and to have a happy life and be able to have a good relationship with your grandchildren. And at this point in time, it behooves you most to allow her to be as she is and not try to help her to live a different life than she is currently living. She must make that decision for herself. There is no action you can take which will help her to be in a better, more harmonious relationship. No matter how much she deserves it, no matter how much you want it for her, this is her choice, and you will not be able to have a relationship on your terms. You have to accept having a relationship on her terms.
Yeah, no, we made it clear that it was fine on her terms. We made that completely clear in the process, because we did accept him. We did accept him, but it would be like watching a woman being hit by her husband and not, especially if it's your own child, and not saying anything. So no, I am a very accepting, forgiving person. That you can ask anybody that I know. It was just one sentence that I thought that maybe she would she would open up and say that, you know, this is what's happening and that maybe we could move from there and see what we could do about it. So,
The best situation would have been at that moment in time, merely to say, I am so sorry that
you know,
he,
well, I've done that. I have done that. I've sent notes and, you know, our whole family has, including her brothers.
it
We've
is
all
very
reached out.
painful. It is very painful to watch, but with most of these type of family situations, it is not possible for you to take an action that will help your daughter. It is what you must watch. You can send to her your love every day, every night. Know that she is happy, know that she is healthy, know that she is well, and that
The
you love
problem
her.
is reaching out to her because she's blocked everyone on her cell phone.
Yes,
Um,
well, you still not try to reach that by speaking this to her. You simply send her that every night before you go to bed. You
Okay,
send that as healing, a mental
right.
healing, that you are sending her love. You are sending her love. You're sending her everything she needs. You are
Right.
not specifically, do not ask to have this problem solved in a way that you want it to be solved.
No, I actually, I don't. I just ask God to open her heart and open her mind.
You see,
That,
yes, you do not realize that when you ask God to open her heart and open her mind, you are asking for your solution to the problem. You are
you
not
know,
allowing.
yeah, that part, I don't even focus on that. I just focus on her, and my grandchildren being a part of our lives again.
Just wish them to be happy in their own lives, where they are with their father. You know, you can change the father just as easily as you can make your daughter see the light.
Right.
And so that would be a satisfactory solution for you, would it not? To have her in a loving relationship with a man that is respectful and uplifts her and cherishes her and loves his children. And you would want that to be for your daughter. So that is as viable a solution as what you have been asking for and thinking about was the way it should happen. And so you send forth love and healing to the situation, not with any strings attached, not with any particular way in mind, not even in the back of your mind. You just want your daughter to be happy. You want your grandchildren to be happy. You want them in a loving, nurturing relationship. And that is what you emphasize. And you can put as much energy into changing him as you are into putting energy to changing her. And so look for that miracle and send it forth in your mind, that just it is a happy family where everyone is happy and everyone is loved and everyone enjoys their life. And that's what you want for your daughter and her two children, and include your son-in-law, because you want him to be as happy as everyone else.
Right.
There will come a point in time, perhaps, with that attitude where your daughter, as you say, her mind will open up. It will probably
Right.
come
No,
about.
I understand that's something that she has to, I understand that. And I
And-
understand that I completely understand, you know, having to love him, as much as I do her, that I get.
Yes, and
Mhm.
and know that that relationship will be wonderful for everybody, or it may not, but that you never know how that problem, and we will call it the problem, how that relationship will be changed by the love and the sending forth that you sent forth, the healing you send to that relationship,
Right,
that everyone should be happy and well, that
right.
the magic that that will create and do, the miracle that will be created
Yeah,
because
no,
this is
I
what you
completely
want.
agree. I completely agree with that. I guess my main question was, will it ever happen that I'll see her?
Oh, I'm sure you will see her at some point in time. It will happen, but you have to stick very strictly to only wishing her, her children, the family, that they are all happy and well
Right,
together. And by
right.
keeping that in your
Yeah,
mind, the door will be open for you and your daughter, and as if all your grandchildren, as a family, that you will be all reunited in some way, shape, or form.
right,
And it will happen spontaneously in a way that is most natural. And it will probably be unexpected for you at this point, at that point in time, because you will have just keep sending the healing to the family, and that everyone in the family should be happy. They should all be healthy, and that they have wonderful times together and enjoy their life. And it will have the desired effect about bringing and manifesting what you wish. But don't
right.
be attached to any particular solution, such as your daughter recognizing the controllingness of her husband. That
No, I know that's something that just has to happen within herself if it's going to. That I totally understand.
But undoubtedly, at some point in time, we just do not know when it
Right,
will
right.
have that effect, and you will make the contact, and it will be one that will bring her back within the family.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there other questions? Well, it is all quiet. There are time for some more questions.
Roncoeur,
Yes.
I ask you how you and Norma came together? Because I feel like there are spirits around me that, I'm starting to feel the presence of more and more, and which takes me more out of the world and into the spirit world, which is a nice place to be because it gives you a little bit of separation from whatever happens to any of us here. So I was just wondering how you two came together. It might be something that we could think about for ourselves with those who might, I'm not sure we become channels, but we could at least receive information.
Certainly. Well, you all have some guides. I am not particularly associated or related to Norma. Norma has her relationship with her guides, and I'm sure we could allow a little time at the end of the meeting if you would like to hear from at least Lana and her relationship, and perhaps from some other guides that she has. And I would suggest they tell you how they came to their relationship together. For me, Norma was already channeling, and I was not one of her guides. But there was a series, so to speak, that those who were in her circle were interested in knowing something about the relationship between creation stories, and that some religions have slightly different creation stories. And so Juana was allowing her to, was bringing in other spirits who had grown up with different creation stories to discuss the theory of creation, such as Adam and Eve, or whether there was a planet that came into the system and brought actually life into the system. And there were different viewpoints. And I came in as one of the speakers at about that time through her. Prior to that time, the medium was not as clear a channel as she is today. And she had more concept and ideas of her own, so to speak, and needed to withdraw and to allow me to speak. She needed to be elevated herself. There were personal items going on in her life that were keeping her at a level, and she needed to grow. And at that time, she became clear enough that I could utilize her being, her body, and I could speak through her. And I became a regular speaker at her circle. And eventually she changed the format, so I became the dominant speaker at the circles that she participated in. And so that is my relationship with her. And if there are not other questions, I believe we are running into the evening. It will probably be a perfect time for me to say goodnight and let Juana come back and tell you about her relationship with the medium. And that may serve the question that you want. So I will simply ask.
Okay, now I got another question.
All right, there is another question then.
Do you find that healing occurs easier when the person is healing like emotions or thoughts or ideas as opposed to physical healings?
I do not wish to say that I do not understand your question, but I am not sure what you were asking about. Healing is healing, and many times people need to heal on the emotional level in order to heal on a physical level.
So what you're saying is it's all connected.
Very often it is all connected, since illness is often a reflection of difficulties and obstacles, so to speak, in a person's life, or not necessarily just in their life, but in their development. That if they need to have a more open mind, if they are of a closed mind type person, sometimes they have eye difficulties and they must go see eye doctors. Now, how does that relate to anything that's going on in their life, that they need to get their eyes fixed, get glasses, see other specialists with the eyes because they are now having difficulty with their vision, when they are really just closed-minded and they do not wish to see certain things or cannot see the answers for things. And so they develop an illness with their eyes so that this illness can be treated. And in that way, they are vicariously treating their problem of being narrow-minded. And not being open-minded to see other people's point of view. Also, people who are having difficulties moving on in their life may suddenly fall down and break a leg. It is a symbolic of not being able to move ahead in your life, and so it manifests in some part of your physical body. Very often, if you look, you will discover that you cause yourself a minor wound when you have a thought or an idea that causes you some distress or unhappiness. You may find that you react without realizing it. You have something happen to you. You bump your elbow, you cut your finger, you do something which is a reflection of what you were thinking about.
Okay, so it always goes in the direction of your emotions, your thoughts affect physical. It never goes the other way around.
You are correct.
Okay, alrighty, that's what I want to know. Alrighty, thank you.
Okay. Well then, are there other questions before we go on to have Juana speak?
What is diabetes?
Excuse me?
What thought would cause diabetes?
Diabetes.
Mhm.
Now that is a different issue, because diabetes is very often a changing, since it is an inability that sometimes is dormant when young, but manifests as an adult, and it is all has to do with digestion. And so sometimes illnesses such as diabetes or multiple sclerosis, while these all can be brought about by physical stuff, physical happenings in people's lives, they are that triggers them, but they are sometimes sitting there in potentiality when one chooses the body that you're going to inhabit, the parents that give you this recessive thing. But otherwise, since diabetes reflects an inability to digest food properly and to get all the nutrients out, with a tendency to not particular, has to do with sugars, of course, but in as much as it is a malfunction of the digestive system, let's put it that way, it can be the result of someone who has a difficulty relating to life as a whole. In other words, they become unhappy with just how life works, what is required of you as a person in your life, what you must do, how you must behave. These people may be just unhappy with their lives in general. And so they're not digesting their food properly, and it brings out the diabetes, which, if you look at it, sometimes people enjoy things that are sweet, and diabetes has to do with the direct digestion of sugars and carbohydrates. And as a result, it is a reflection of people's ability or inability to be in tune and relaxed in life. You understand?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
It leads me to more questions, but
There is one more question.
no, it leads me to think of more questions, but I'll not now. Thank
Yes.
you.
Well, we only have a few more minutes left before our scheduled session is over, so we
Right.
can continue to ask questions. The answer concerning Juana can be answered next week when we get together, if that would be satisfactory with to speak to Norma's guides and find out the relationships, so that we could ask another question if you wish.
Okay, you just said that, or you touched on it, that the life we choose to come into, as far as inherited diseases, problems, whatever,
Yes.
have we like come into that life accepting that, I don't know, we might wind up with a bad heart or whatever because of inherited stuff? Or are we kind of stuck with the inherited stuff even if we don't have a bad attitude?
Yes, I do understand your question. It can go either way, because when you choose your time of incarnation, you choose your parents and the time of your birth set up astrologically for the problems you wish to address. Now, if the issue they want to address is certain attitudes which have to do with your heart, so to speak, in that they address your feelings or other aspects of your heart, that if this is what you want to come into this incarnation to get better at managing these issues and to overcome certain aspects in your life, then yes, you would choose that person, that incarnation, that time and point of incarnation, so that you would have these difficulties as a reflection of what you do. It becomes a I wish to say a warning sign, but that is not an indicator of something that you need to work on. Particularly if this is something that comes to you when you are young, in particular, or early middle age, or is recurring throughout your life, that you are always having the same problems, and the same problem can be a reflection that shows up in your body over and over and over again, then yes, you have chosen that defect or that potentiality of ill health as your warning sign, as a way of influencing your actions so that you may overcome this aspect of your personality.
That's cool.
Yes. It's
Okay, so
difficult.
so if your family has a history of diabetes, then it's not so much they have a history of not dealing with life itself, but you have a problem with not dealing with life itself, so you went into that family. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, at that point in time, probably others in the family also had that same characteristic.
Wow,
But,
that's interesting.
yes, so that, yes, you could join a family that had something going on throughout the family, and everyone would have the same issue, because let us understand that or acknowledge that you are influenced in how you think and you act by your parents. And so if this is going to be an issue you are going to deal with, choosing those parents and that time and place and having that illness there within the family is something that is part of your karma. It is what you have chosen in this lifetime.
That kind of explains more why some families, like, okay, so diabetes runs in a whole family, and they all have the same attitude.
Yes, you see, it addresses all the problems together. Yes, they have that same
Yeah,
attitude.
and it's very hard for people that are stuck in a family like that to break out of it, because it's what they grew up with. Everybody was doing the same thing.
That's correct.
Wow.
And so it becomes a challenge. So it is the challenge of the life. It is the karmic challenge, so to speak. And if you truly want to be happy in your life and you have been fighting this, or this comes along, when you realize that this is a trait that can be changed by yourself and by your attitudes and by your actions, and how you think about things, then you can overcome that issue and create a happy life for yourself. Otherwise, it continues to be a problem. And things that continue to be a problem are signs that you need to make a correction in the way you think, or the way you act, or the way you understand things.
That also explains the people that say, I'm not going to be like my parents.
That is true.
Mhm.
And sometimes they are still exactly like their parents.
Sometimes, yes. And sometimes, yeah, you kind of have to gently point that out. But I've seen some kids, people, whatever, that have said they're not going to do it that way. They've seen what had happened in their family life, and they don't want it, and they walk away from it.
Right, so that the children of alcoholics do not necessarily have to be alcoholics. They
Right.
can say, I have seen what it does to a family and I refuse to drink. And I
Mhm.
simply will not drink.
Yep.
And they go on and create very good lives for themselves, whereas siblings may not. Because
Mhm.
they may fall into the same habits as parents or the parent that drinks, whatever the case is.
Yeah, I know. I have one nephew that did that. We all thought he was going to go on the straight and narrow, and he did for so long until I think his second marriage.
And then he was unhappy, and then he found his second marriage was no better than his first, and his
Uh-huh. You're right,
and
you
so
got
he
that right. Yeah, and then he
decided to
started
drink.
drinking. Yep, that's exactly what
Yes.
happened.
Yes, and it had nothing to do with his drinking in the first or the second marriage, but that was yes, we understand that these things do happen for people. You see it happen all the time.
Yep. Okay.
And just to accept this about yourself. Well, it is very
Alrighty.
much now at the end of this evening. And I will say to the lady who asked for to speak with the other guides that I will tell Juana, and Juana will take care of that and at the next section if she is present. So I'm going to take a moment, and I am very happy that you had more questions, but it is more appropriate to speak up at the beginning of a meeting than to wait toward the end when we do not have time to address all your questions. And I hope you will be back next week and that you will save your questions and ask them. If it has brought up a question and an additional question, that is good. Thank you very much for coming. I give you all my blessings. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Hi, I'm back. Okay, now I know what we want and who asked the question, and if it's okay with everybody, well, it'll happen next week, but I will tell everybody why the medium and I are together, and I can bring also through some of our other guides who may be able to explain why they are with the medium. So right now, I just want to, it is time for us to say goodnight. So I just have to say, remember, I love you all. Good night.
Good night,
Night.
Lana.
Love you.